So all I'm saying is we need to defend our sovereignty. Oh, hi! I didn't see you there. I'm Philbert D, and you've got a friend in me. This is Phil on Films. So as I was saying, the West Philippine Sea is a... This week, Feelennial, Rocketman, and Toy Story 4.
Do you wanna find him or not?
Malay mo, siya na yung future second husband mo. Makakasama mo sa buhay. Pagtanda, ayaw mo ba nun, madam?
Ayoko.
Ay de las Alas stars as Madam Bato Bato, a real estate mogul who spends a lot of time on social media. Bayani Agbayani is Chito, a guy who won the lotto. The two of them end up getting into a feud after a couple of trying incidents. But it turns out that Madam's son and Chito's niece are in a relationship. This doesn't improve anything between them, and to further complicate matters, they are both unknowingly flirting with each other on a dating app. For most of the movie, the two main characters are made out to be really unlikable.
Alam mo, dapat makikita ko na siya eh. Kaso, ikaw na impacto ang nakita ko.
Ikaw nga to eh! Pinaabil ko yung bebelab ko! Humarang-harang ka!
Presumably, the movie wants us to root for them ending up together in the end, but it takes a decidedly strange route toward that goal. The two snipe at each other for completely petty reasons. And their flirtation is kept at the level of really shallow instant messages that don't really develop into anything substantial. But the movie gets tiresome before we have to deal with any of this silly romance. I'm just so done with media painting millennials with such a broad brush. A lot of millennials are in their 30s now, with families and careers and concerns well beyond taking selfies or whatever old people think young people do. It's all gotten so tedious. This is all put together with a production package that indicates plenty of poor judgment. Prime among these bad choices is its overuse of drones. There's just a type of filmmaker that will choose to use a drone shot even if a scene doesn't call for it. In this movie, there is a conversation that starts from 100 feet away. The characters all just grainy blurs in the distance, the drone capturing nothing essential about what's going on. Ay de las Alas and Bayani Agbayani are funny and they're great performance, but ultimately it's this poor judgment that comes to define this movie. 1.5 stars.
Pag gusto mo magbukoon,
Sagada!
pag gusto mo magtanan, edi sa beach.
There are moments in a rock star's life that define who he is. And it's going to be a wild ride.
Taron Eagerton takes on the guise of the legendary Elton John. The film is framed as the singer telling his story in a group addiction meeting. The film takes us back to his childhood as Reginald Dwight, a shy kid with an absent father and an apathetic mother. The film follows his rise to stardom and documents the many temptations he encounters along the way. The film makes its intentions very clear right from the start. This isn't a straight retelling of the Elton John story. That big opening meeting breaks out into a big musical number, with the main character as a child leading his entire neighborhood in a choreographed rendition of The Bitch Is Back. Later, as a teenager, he's shown singing a song in a pub that wouldn't be written until much later in the timeline. This is an approach that works oddly well for Elton John, who didn't write the lyrics to his own songs. The movie instead harnesses the feelings of the music and applies them loosely to the singer's arc. This proves to be more effective in the first half of the movie, where subject is young and hungry and sweetly earnest, perfectly capturing the tenor of Elton John's best songs. It loses steam in the back half as we get into the meat of the sobriety story.
And just don't kill yourself with drugs.
Even though the film is fairly frank about its subject's failings, it still feels like it glosses over a lot of big things. And the music just doesn't play as well. Still, I can't really imagine an Elton John fan leaving the cinema unsatisfied. That is, unless you were really hoping to hear Skyline Pigeon. Sorry, Philippines, it just isn't in there. 3.5 stars.
Let's just enjoy it while we can.
Woody? Why am I alive? You are a toy. You belong to Bonnie. These are your friends.
Tom Hanks returns as Woody, who is now starting to feel neglected as his new kid Molly seems to be less interested in playing with him. He remains hopeful, however, and he finds purpose when Molly creates a toy in kindergarten. This toy, Forky, voiced by Toby Hale, is not at all at ease with being a toy and tries to escape at every opportunity. When Forky flings himself out of a moving RV, Woody follows, and this leads him to an unexpected reunion. Well, it's a Toy Story movie. There's really no reason for this fourth installment to exist. The last movie already had a sequence which had our heroes making peace with the idea that they were all going to die together. You'd think that there would be nowhere else to go after that. But here we are.
We have to find them.
What do we do, Buzz?
What would he do?
Jump out of a moving vehicle?
Let's go!
You can think of this as a bonus story. One last go at playing out this formula of fun action sequences juxtaposed with the existential dread of these toys fearing abandonment and obsolescence. Somehow it still works. If you think about it, every element of the story is completely bizarre. You have this aging toy having to struggle with the idea of a life beyond being owned. You have this misshapen creation fashioned out of garbage coming to life and then immediately having an identity crisis. Saying these things out loud make this movie seem completely insane. Certainly not a heartwarming, at times thrilling piece of family entertainment. But it's Toy Story. It's practically a tradition. It isn't as effective as previous entries in the series, but that's a pretty high bar to clear. It still looks gorgeous, and though the rhythms of the story have become awfully familiar, it still hits these little moments of quiet sentiment that resonate in spite of the odd context that they're in. I'd still rather that Pixar move on to new properties, tell new stories, but it would be completely wrong to say that there's no value in this extra chapter. It's just really nice to hang out with these guys. 4 stars.
Woody, somebody's whispering in your ear. Everything's gonna be okay.
On to questions. Muggs asked, do you have plans to review any of the I Want movies/series? I've been wanting to do that actually. It's just that watching movies on a regular schedule is already pretty difficult. I'm really interested in checking out the rest of Dwayne Baltazar's Past, Present, Perfect. I'm really intrigued and I want to get through John and Martian. I just haven't found the time to sit through entire series recently. Kid Loves Dogs commented, any upcoming independent Filipino films you're excited to watch? I don't know. Again, this gets into the question of what an independent film is, and I actually don't know what the answer to that is anymore. Nobody ever tells me what independent films they're making. No, nobody. I mean, I'm friends with some people, but nobody tells me. I will say, I have been hearing about Fangirl for so long at this point. That's an Antoinette Hadone film. We've talked about it before. She asked me if I could help getting somebody cast, and I said no because I don't actually have any clout in the industry. But I'm always interested to see what Antoinette does, especially outside of a context of the standard studio things. I don't know if I'm excited for it, but Zian Lim has a film in Cinema Manila, and they actually pitched it to Cinema One, and I was on the panel for selection that year. I'm going to say I'm very curious what that's going to be like. Mac DeClinen on Twitter asks, will you return writing on Letterboxd anytime soon? I would like to. I thought this would take up less time than it actually does. It takes up a lot of time and a lot of my brain power. I do want to get back to Letterboxd because I like writing more than I like being on camera. We'll see how that works out. But as soon as we get into a more comfortable rhythm on this whole thing, I will try to get back to writing on Letterboxd. Carl on Twitter asks, do you have a favorite Marvel movie? If yes, what is it? I have a really soft spot in my heart for Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. Particularly because, I guess it's a spoiler, there's a dance battle at the end, or there's the appearance of a dance battle at the end.
Bring it down hard. What are you doing?
I've been making this joke for the longest time. When I was reviewing a lot more movies, I saw a lot of dance movies. They're all the same. They're all a bunch of young misfits coming together and then having to save their dance studio from closing or having to win some contest or whatever. Let's dance! And in my head, I was just like, hey, these don't all have to be the same. What if we have a dance movie where you have to dance to save the world? There are aliens invading Earth. and they fight with dancing, and then these kids who are dancers, they become the heroes of the earth or whatever. Anyway, when Peter Quill started dancing against Ronan the Accuser, I was like, they made this movie just for me.
Dance off, bro. Me and you. It's on.
Thanks for joining us. As always, you are free to ask me questions by leaving a comment, or every week now I've been posting a thing on Twitter and you can reply to that. And other than that, just, like and subscribe, leave a comment, do all the internet things, and until next time, goodbye internet, protect our waters. This is a nitrous oxide canister. This is a cream whipper. It takes in the nitro and mixes it in with the beer. So we're gonna find out if we can make like a super fake nitro beer with a cream whipper.
Hey, look at that!